I'm sure with 9 billion people or whatever, 7 billion people on the planet, somebody else has said something very similar, but this is not regurgitated. What you guys are going to hear today is new, it's fresh, it's for you. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about leadership, and I'm going to teach you about the 5 stages of an entrepreneur. These are not 5 fully inclusive stages, but these are 5 stages in your leadership journey that you're going to go through as an entrepreneur, and some of the pitfalls. Now, you could be at the first stage that we're going to talk about, which is starting, or you could be at the graduated stage, which is that you have employees, you have your downline, or you have your customers, whatever you would want, and you're minting money, but you have gaps and you have cracks in the foundation. I want to talk to you today about, one, if you're just getting started, to be able to know how to avoid those pitfalls at any stage, and number 2, if you're in flight and you already have a multi-million-dollar business, multiple employees, my hope is that what you're going to hear when you hear me deliver this, what you're going to see is a reminder about how this started and what you need to do to get it back on track. Is that fair? Cool. Let's do it. Again, this is the shortest, the absolute shortest I've ever done here. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a diagram, right? Zach brings me in and tells you about my mountaintop experience right here. I'm going to bring it all the way back down here. I told you about where we started. I'm going to do the same thing here for us. On this side is money, and on the bottom is speed and volume. So I want to talk to you about the stage 1 of your start, right? This is, let's call it level 1. And imagine level 1 is like a plane that's just sitting on the runway. It has the opportunity, the ability to fly, but it is not flying yet. At this point is your entry point, which I don't know that many people here are at an entry point. Is anybody in here at the entry point where they're, hey, we're just building and developing our business? Great, fantastic. Then we'll talk about the entry point.
Yeah, we are.
You are too. That's great. We'll talk about the entry point at this level 1. At this level 1, it's the basics of leadership. Everybody in here is going to be dealing with other humans. That's the basis of what we do. Unless you are working for the government and you're writing software or programs, then everything we do is going to be about interacting with other humans. And it is going to be the most critical function that you're going to do for the rest of your career. The rest of your business life is how you interact with other humans, how you lead yourself, and how you lead others. The first thing on the basics that are necessary down here is self-leadership. You'll be required to grow. Anything that is alive is by nature in motion, and you must invest in growth, both in your ability to lead others and to lead yourself. It's a skill set to lead yourself, and your ability to lead yourself will first determine your ceiling at any given point. So no matter where we travel on this map, through all 5 levels, your ability to lead yourself will become your ceiling. And if you think back to the time in your life where you feel like you've hit a ceiling, you oftentimes have hit a lid where either you're not growing anymore because you're not investing in growth. Everybody in here is obviously investing in growth, right? Everybody here right now is investing in growth. So that's great news. That's good self-leadership. We're already at that point, so I don't need to go into that too far. But there are times for anybody who's been in business in here knows that this moment has likely happened in your past as well, and then you went dark for a while. You got tired, life got heavy, maybe the kids, the family, work schedule, whatever it is, and now you're off of investing in self, you're not reading books, you're not growing, and then you can look back over your life and see that those areas where you weren't growing, those are your plateaus. Self-leadership is going to be necessary the entire time, and investment in self as well. The second thing you have to have here is you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision. And you benefit greatly from being able to communicate the vision. The better the storyteller, the better the story. Where are you going and what vehicle you will take? Right here, at your start, the gentleman who's in the back who's starting, what's your name again, sir?
Peter.
Peter. Right here, where Peter's at, I'm just going to put Peter so I don't forget your name, Peter, because this is you here today. Right here where Peter's at, Peter has to be able to tell his story. He's got to be able to get people bought in. And if you're not a great storyteller, you have to become a great storyteller. Because at this point, all you have is the story. All you have is the vision. If you're going to try to get people on the bus, and you can't explain why they should get on the bus, or what the bus looks, or why this bus is cooler than your bus, or this bus is cooler than their bus, then you're going to have a hard time getting people to get on your bus. And if you don't have people on this bus, then you're going somewhere alone. And that means you're leading nobody, right? So right here is the ability. Some would say it's the ability to sell, right? Some would say you got to be able to get people sold. I don't like boxing it into sale. I don't want to sell people, right? Ultimately, it looks exactly like selling, but I'm vision casting. I'm not selling. I want to tell you where we're headed. That's the difference, is that because I'm investing in people and I'm not trying to get your money, I'm giving you vision, not in exchange for a sale. I can sell anybody on anything. You can too. Everybody in here can likely sell something. But it's different when it's human to human, when it's heart to heart, when it's person to person. That I have to give vision. I've got to be able to tell you the story. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And why should you come with me? Peter, the next thing, you must care about people. I'm going to read this verbatim. Now, interest in people will work, but care will multiply your influence. You must care about people. Being interested in people will work, but care will multiply your influence. People will join you because you care. At this stage, you're so desperate to build your team, and level of care is at its highest. This place right here, I'm trying to get this business off the ground, is when you care most about people at any given stage. Because you're alone. You're just getting started. And you know that you don't yet have anything to offer but a vision and care. And why do humans stay around? Why would you go to your family's Christmas party if they don't care? Why would you go to your friend's place if you feel like they don't care? You show up because somebody showed up for you. Somebody comes to the kids' little league game, or somebody comes to your birthday and you're like, oh my gosh, hey Dave, I'm leaving town. In less than 24 hours, I'll be in Hawaii. I was in San Francisco this week. Last week I was in Manhattan. Zach said, hey, can you come down and do a teaching? In 18 hours, I'll be on a plane, right? Of course, Zach, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Why? Because Zach's there for me. Because just a few days ago, I called Zach and I said, Zach, I got some wires crossed up in my head. Can I stop by late at night? We sat on the couch. We talked about a few things that made a difference. He cares for me. I care for him. It's an exchange in humanity. The more you care for people, the more likely they are to stay with you. Remember this. This is the basics. This is the fundamentals. This is how we start. And you know, when you're trying to sell, you're so interested in people, you're willing to sit and listen because you're not busy yet, right? The only thing you're busy doing is getting people. At this point, I'm super busy getting people. Now, I will caution you, if you're not interested, if you're only interested in not caring for people, put that in your notes right now. I'm doing it wrong. Just write it down. I'm doing it wrong. Interest will not last. Interest in people will not get you to the next levels. Interest will catch your people because everybody is actually looking for a vision. They're looking for a dream. Many people don't have one. You happen to be the unique group because you're here today with a dream. You're here with a vision. You're here exchanging what you have to the group to say, help me make this dream come true. Most people are sitting at home wishing they could do something, wishing they had a dream, wishing they were a part of something. And so they're looking for who's close to me that has a dream so I can hitch my wagon to theirs. Interest won't be good enough. Care is required. If I left with one thing today that you remember, it's that. Thank you. Level 2. This is the next place that you travel to. Now at level 2, we have two things. We have a team now, and you have money now. Now, I'm not saying that level 2 is that you're rolling in cash. Remember when I was talking about business earlier, I said I had a business never made $1. I spent $400,000. That's not level 2. That's level 1 with a pit below it, right? Level 2 is there's money coming in, even if it's in the rears. Even if you're spending, $50,000 a year and you're making 25, you're in motion. That's real. We have an exchange and we can always scale that, right? You can scale anything that's working, right? So if it's not working at all, you're not at level 2. Level 2 means there's actually people giving me money. There's an exchange happening. And my care for people still exists because I know that my care got me from here to here. At level 2, and my mini thing here, at level 2, you have movement and people who have bought in and others are starting to believe in you. So people are with you because they're believing in you because they're starting to see something work. You're now making money, and you have a little bit of money, but you still have more time than you do money. That's important. Right now, you still have more time than you do money at level 2. The basis of self-leadership is always to spend what you have more of. I always tell people, you spend more what you have more of. It's a thing that I say all the time. If you have more time than you do money, spend your time to get money. If you have more money than you do time, spend your money to get your time back. But spend more of whatever you have, okay? Level 2, self-leadership is exciting at this point. So right here, down here, Peter is investing right here. Somebody's at level 2. Who's at level 2 in here? Anybody at level 2 where they're just starting to make money?
Raise your hand up.
It's Mike, right?
Yes.
So Mike's level 2. Mike is a level 2. It's starting to work, right? We see income, but we need to scale, right? We've got some pieces that are starting to work. There's revelation. But at this point, it's exciting because you see you placed an investment and it's starting to work. From this point, people often begin to invest in knowledge. So the next step we're going to go to on level 3 will be knowledge. You'll start investing here into knowledge, which is exactly what you're doing here. Is I'm starting to make money. I'm going to reinvest into knowledge, and that is how do we get great at what we do? Your investment in people is going well here, and your team is continuing to grow. Your vision is catching wind like a sail. At this point, when the friends around you have heard you dream out loud, some of you are just getting started. Those friends don't believe in you yet. That's okay. But when it starts making money, and they see you spending time late at night, and they're like, wait a second, so people are sending you money? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's actually working. So now you've piqued people's interests. There are people that are now watching over the fence. Like, they said they were going to do it. They said that tree would grow. I told them there was no way it would grow through that hard soil, but the tree's growing. Interesting. Maybe they knew something I didn't know. Maybe I thought I knew something, and my hardened life had told me that because I planted trees in hard soil, it wouldn't grow there. But maybe Mike knows something I don't know. Okay, at this stage, you'll need leaders in the organization, and it's getting easier to recruit people because it's starting to work. Those people that are looking over the fence and the people that are looking to hitch their wagons, those people are looking for you and your vision. So the people that have no vision but want to see you making it, and you're like the early Elon Musk to them, right? You're like Bitcoin at 3 pennies. Do you understand? Bitcoin at 3 pennies, that's where you're at. And they see that like, ooh, is this the IPO? Is my neighbor the IPO? Could I get on? Now, most of the people in your world, unfortunately right here, are still friends, family, and close colleagues, right? Which you will learn later on is not always the best, but sometimes necessary to use. If you can avoid that, I would say do avoid that, because it will turn into a pitfall up here in the future. But most of those people that are around you that are starting to believe are those that you already had a previous credibility with. And now they're seeing it work for you here, and they're thinking, shoot, I need a thing. That looks like a thing I can hitch my wagon to. And some of those people get on. Some of the people you've just met, but whatever the case is, love and money, and now it's time to invest into your next level. And so you are paying to get knowledge for the next level. Now, level 3 is where we are headed next. Level 3 is up here. And as you can tell, we are progressing. We're making it up. Money is rising, speed and volume is increasing in what we do. Now, the only thing is that we're about to have a break. We're about to have an arch break here. This right here is your care for people. It's not making it at the same speed, and it's not increasing, right? So technically I would put it back here, but you get the point. We're starting to see a decline. That's the representation. It wouldn't be to scale. But that's the representation. Is at level 3 we're starting to see a decline. You have knowledge and money. Here we talked about investing, right? We're going to create an exchange for our money going forward. So here you have knowledge, which I'll put a light bulb, if you'll bear with me here on whatever the light bulb's supposed to look like, plus money. So you have knowledge plus money, and you have care below those two topics. You also have momentum, and your team has buy-in. This right here is where the dream is starting to manifest, and you feel it. You know we have movement. I've got buy-in for my team. I have revenue that makes sense, right? And I have people wanting to be on my team in a product that's working. Who's in that space? Anybody?
Maybe. I don't know what's coming.
No, there's more levels. You're further down the road. Yeah. Your primary focus at this point is learning and developing new processes to handle the growth. This is why you're not at level 3. You're past this. Your primary focus at this point is learning and developing new processes to handle the growth. At this stage, your self-leadership is multiplied, and it's evident that you put in the effort to grow has a direct financial effect. So at this place, you're starting to realize, man, I invest in my self-leadership, I invest in processes, I invest in knowledge, and that scaling I was talking about earlier, you take that, you spending 50, making 25, now you're acquiring knowledge that's showing you how to scale your money, and the scales are tipping. You're like, oh shoot, now I'm making 100 in, and instead of like or I'm spending 100, I'm making 200, right? So now I'm net positive to a place where this feels like, wow, this could be big enough to replace a career. We're at a place where this is a real business. It's really making money, and it's got a flow, and the people around you are bought in, which is one of the most important things. They start to see you as like the example. They're like, wow, the person who started, who planted a tree, who then we said it wouldn't grow, is now growing, and on top of that, the dang thing's got avocados on it. This is crazy, right? And the guy's picking the avocados and selling them. We told him he couldn't grow a tree, and now he's selling the thing we said he could never have. This is crazy. It's working. And every time I see him, he's smiling, and he's out there back planting more trees, wanting more to happen. This person is fully invested in the fact that it worked, they're bought in, and people around them are showing up at his house planting trees. This is crazy. He's got people that show up that are doing the watering for him because they see something working, and he's starting to look like the Messiah of business. He does something and it just works. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm having I don't know how else to articulate that, but they're looking at you like you're making magic happen. Because honestly, being successful in business is literally like making magic happen. Because if it wasn't, everybody else would be there. You see the thing I talked about earlier when we started was this is like a plane just sitting here waiting to come off. That's exactly what planes look like, I guess. Right, yeah, that looks like graffiti. But this is, down here you're a plane getting ready to take off. Right here you're a plane with lift. It takes a lot of energy, the most energy to get a plane off the ground because the air is densest on the ground. Up here, by this point, you're no longer the Cessna. At this point, you're a G6. You have passengers. You have teams. You have people flying with you, right? Like this is working and people are fully bought in. And candidly, it is very hard to do because gravity is always at work. And in your life, life works exactly like gravity. It does not want you to succeed, period. Do you know why? Because if you sit at home and you decide to do nothing, life will give you exactly what you put in. It will pull you right back down and it will equal failure, period. You will have to exert energy in order to be successful. I'm super sorry to be the one to break it to you, but somebody has to tell you guys. Because I grew up dreaming, and I tell my wife, we just had this conversation the other day, I dreamed of hitting it big, making this big break so that I could be done working. I guess so I could show the rest of the world that I did it. I don't have to work anymore. I created this life. And then I realized that's so stupid. What am I going to do with all my time? What would I do with all this knowledge? What would I do with everything I fought to acquire? Let it sit at the house and not share it with other people? It's the craziest idea, but it's the American dream. Well, I lived in Hawaii. We lived in a place called Ko'olina. If you've ever been there, that's where we're going tomorrow. I lived there in Ko'olina for 2 years, and I was surrounded by those people who invented amazing things. They had done amazing things with their life and became the most boring humans I'd ever met. And then they were arguing about how they didn't want people messing up their lawns. I'm like, is this what you dreamed of? You don't want somebody messing up your lawn? You don't want to see my kids riding their bikes and living life? That's the life you dreamed of? But I have to tell you now, so you hear it from me first. It will take a lot of work, and you will have to be bought in, and the work never ends. It never ends until you're ready to be done with it. There is a stage in which in life you know that you're in diminishing returns on energy. And at that point in time, right, you're either going to have to create something that carries you across the line into the other side, or at that point in time, you've already set up a team and the team does the work for you and everything you've acquired in knowledge is at work for you, and that's producing revenue. Many ways to do it, but hard work is going to be required for every level. If you want to be successful, otherwise you'll just make money. And success and money are different. You can define that you're here to make money. I won't judge you, right? You'll be like the people in Hawaii that did it, and that's okay. It's very possible to go do that. And that's great if that's your goal. My personal goal is to have the greatest impact I can, to love as many people, to take this broken story of a human and tell others that they can do it too. That they can be amazing people that spend the rest of their life giving to others, that help others in hurting situations, that say, hey, there's an answer for you, right? I couldn't do that without Jesus, so that's the part of my story which will always be told, but also that it's possible that just some broken kid that everybody counted out that was going to jail forever could do something great, and not just do something great, but make a difference. But if we're going to do something like that, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's not going to end. You've got to be sown in, and you have to make up in your mind, I'm not building for a long vacation, I'm building for difference, I'm building for impact, I'm building for influence. Okay. But wow, I got off track. At this stage, it's working and people are wanting to get on board. Leaders are easy to find and follow instruction because they want what you have. I kind of covered a little bit of that. So that's what's important here at stage 3, is that leaders are getting easy to find and they follow their instruction. They realize, oh, you're the sensei. I'm not the sensei, so you tell me how to do it, that's how we'll do it. The work of caring for people isn't as necessary. Guys, you got to hear this again. This is one of the most important things. The work of caring for people at stage 3 isn't as necessary because people are coming to you now. It's almost like a counterfeit relationship, and it works. And the interesting thing about the magnetism that happens when you become the sensei is previously in stage 1, which for us, because we can see from 10,000 feet right now, stage 1 just happened here. This is Peter at stage 1. You know, we've got Mike at stage 2. At stage 3, people are coming to you now. You know the investment, Mike and Peter, that you're having to put in at this level in order to get connected, and you are super invested, right? Maybe you can get better. We can all get better at connecting with people. That's okay. That's a skill set we can acquire. We can grow in at getting great. But the thing that is really tricky here is that in the process of our leadership and development, at stage 3, people are coming to us. Again, it's like that Messiah complex, like it's very easy. Well, let's go back to sensei because that works better. But the sensei, people come to him. They come to her and they say, hey, teach us what you have. Everybody wants to be next to me. I'm like a superstar. This is what we would call fame, right? Now it's in a microcosm often, unless you've exploded, but you have a measure of fame that's in application in your life. That fame is very different, very dangerous because it feels like relationship without the work. It's very cheap. So back here, I'm caring deeply for people. Back here, I know Melissa has 2 kids, and I know why Melissa has to make this work. I know she needs the money. I know she's upside down $1,500 a month, and my purpose is to help Melissa make that gap up so that she doesn't have to take a second job, because I care deeply for her situation. Up here, I'm starting to, I don't even know all of my team members' kids' names. Down here, I knew Melissa's why. At stage 3, they're drawn to me, and I don't have to ask why anymore because you're doing the work to get to me. I no longer have to do the work to get to you. And it's almost like these glasses. I had the surgery, and one of the things they told me, my eyes are basic, my left eye is 20/20, my right eye is a little bit off. And they said, well, when you put the glasses on, your eyes are going to go lazy and you'll have to use them more. And they won't have to work anymore. This is similar to that. I won't have to do the work anymore. So my action, my activity of interest in people is turned back into interest as it pertains to the thing. We are now focused, and the basis of our relationship is focused on the thing. If I make widgets, if I sell funnels, if I do X, now the people that are coming to me, we're all talking about X. And it's happening fast because we're big, we're moving, you guys. We're way up here, which means our speed is increased. Our money is increased. What we do is important now. I'm important. We're important. You're a part of a team and you see a future and a vision. The only risk is that the only thing we're really talking about is what we're doing, not who we are now. This is put a big caution sign next to this because it will come back and bite you. And at this stage, in stage 3, you have a fairly standard, unnoticeable attrition. It means it doesn't look much different from stage 2 to stage 3. Your attrition doesn't. But the basics are starting to fall as you've traded basics for knowledge and process. So at this point, we're about to invest into processes. But at this point, like your focus as the sensei is, I need process. I need knowledge. People are coming to you, and people are starting to do your work and your effort for you. But your focus is starting to go on process and knowledge, and we're about to travel from this place to level 4. Now this place up here is where we're going to get another split. My care is going to continue to travel right here. Remember, this is the care for people that we split off over here because we're no longer traveling in continuity. But something else that we're about to get is I'm about to see a split in my time. My time is about to decrease. This is something that in level 4, let's call this, is anybody in level 4 by chance? Anybody here in level 4? Let's just say that Mikey online watching is level 4. Thanks, Mikey.
There might be it's called Jay, Dana watching.
Jay
Yeah.
and Dana?
J-A-E. Dana's a guy. Not with Jay.
Okay. J-A-E?
J-A-E.
Okay, Jay.
He's still learning how to spell.
All right, Jay. I don't know who's learning how to spell me or you, but this...
Jay is.
Jay's learning. Okay, got it. Okay, right here, we make the decision that we need process. P-R-O-C-E-S-S. Right here is when we realize we're going to need process to get to the next gap. You're starting to come to your cap at your ability of being able to move from one stage to the next. You realize from level 1 to 2 to 3, knowledge and money alone will not get you what you need next. You're in an organization, you're in a fast-moving plane. I told you you were in a G6 here. This is a commercial airliner. We're moving now. We've got a whole plane full of people. And what does it take when you're on that plane full of people? Stewards, stewardesses, right? We need multiple captains flying that plane. We need somebody on the helm, right? We have a staff of people, not just people on our bus. Now we have a staff of people working with us. And in order for this to get to this level where we can keep this plane in flight, we have to implement processes. Early businesses don't need processes. They can call Mike. They can give Mike a call on the phone and say, Mike, hey, that thing you installed, it's not working. I need you back here. At this level, I need a call center. I need you to call. When we get that call center, we're going to dispatch it to the supervisor. The supervisor is going to have a process of knowing who's working, and we're going to put a ticket in. That ticket's going to be dispatched to the technician's phone, and that technician is then going to get in his phone and drive to the site of which we're going to monitor GPS, and then we're going to get a check-in. We're going to get a check-out process. When that's done, we're going to have a ticket that sends to the customer, lets the customer know this is a photo of the problem we found, right? This is what we discovered. And whether it's billable or not, right? That we have to have process. If you try to run everything I just said without process, I just got a guy calling a guy at home who didn't know he's supposed to be on, and we didn't show up, and I don't have a photo of what was wrong, so I can't prove it was billable, right? And we don't have an automated email system to let them know when we checked in and checked out. We have a whole mess. Process is necessary at this level. So you've invested in process at this level. The problem is that now you're cooking, and you're the sensei, and your dojo has grown much, much bigger. Like I said, your plane is huge, right? And the problem with that is that it's taking a lot of your effort now. Now you're thrilled. You wanted to fly a big plane. But at this stage, it's starting to get sideways. At this stage, you've been experiencing growth and are far away from where you started. You likely have expendable cash now and are benefiting from the fruits of your labor. However, now you have more money than you do time. This level 4 stage, our level 4 stage, is primarily about more money than you have time, right? So we'll say money over time. This is defined by money over time. At this stage, your processes are working. You've been able to leverage process to increase the speed and efficiency of the business, making it more profitable. Your previous investments of money to acquire, develop process have paid off, and you're in flight. Your success is up, and you're on a high from the success, but the high is starting to wear off, and it feels like you're out of balance. You're starting to feel like this is too much to carry. Sorry, guys. At this point, to bring back balance to your life, you will often trade what you have, more money, to get the other back. You will leverage your money to buy back your time, and this can be done by either hiring people, buying software, etc. Also at this point, you're often so focused on the success that people have been drawn to you. Like I said in the previous stages, they're coming to you and the relationships are cheap, but sometimes you're starting to see a higher attrition at level 4. This attrition is because earlier we talked about you're hiring friends, those people close to you, those are people get on your team. Some of those people, they were never going to be capable of going to this level. Just so you know, everybody has their own ceiling, right? There are people in my life that work for us that are the greatest employees. They will wake up at 3 a.m. every single morning, show up to work without a hitch. They're happy to get their paycheck and they don't want more than that. And I love those people. I love those people. I send them flowers. They're my favorite, right? Because I don't have to worry about them trying to take your business. I don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to get bored or what they want to do something or they're going to promote. They just are like clockwork. They deliver, they show up. Those people are amazing. Those people can't move up to become the person that flies the plane, but that needs to be okay. You see, that's not actually a problem. I forgot to put time here. Sorry. That's not actually a problem. But there are some people, like I said, that started early on, they have to go. But you're at this point experiencing attrition that you were unaware of. There's attrition happening because you've been focused on the success. You've been focused on process. You've been focused on growth. You've been focused on the tree, the avocado tree, so much out front that at this point, people are getting off and you're getting surprised. Now, if anybody's been in business long enough, you're identifying right now with what I'm talking about. Jay probably just threw something across the room. Son of a!
Definitely hit the computer.
Yes. At this point, people are getting off your team and you're caught off guard, right? Because you're tunnel visioned. It's the vision, it's the dream, we're focused, we're locked in. But you're getting surprised because somebody's going to get off the ship. Listen, for those people, for these people, level 1, 2, 3, pay close attention because if you do 1, 2, 3 right, this will be your problem. And I'm trying to help you by identifying it right now as a pitfall so that you're aware and you keep your head up on a swivel instead of locked directly in because this will bite you. Anybody who's been here knows the pain of getting the phone call that one of your key players just left. You know what's worse is when you didn't see it coming. What's worse is when you felt like it could come, but you've been more invested on getting your time back. You're so focused on getting your time back. You're so focused on putting the pieces of your life back together that you didn't head it off at the pass. So you knew you could have done something when you look back. This is a different teaching I have called the missing leadership action. You review what happened, you take a look at the problems, and you ask yourself, what could I have done differently that would have provided a different outcome? And the answer is, I delayed the inevitable. I knew either I needed to push them out because they weren't going to make it, or I needed to coach them up. But either way, I ignored this situation the way that I could have best dealt with it, and now it's come to bite me. This is a really, for any leader that's been in level 4 knows that this place sucks. Sucks. Because I can tell you when you're here and people are jumping off, when you have the first jump, it's not the last. It is 911. You are in an emergency state. Your team is drifted, and they are only there in commonality. They're there because I'll get to that in a minute why they're there, but this place is very dangerous. So let's move past that. At this point, when we take real inventory, we are more of a boss than a leader now. We are the organization's visionary, and we're now responsible for many people's livelihoods. Oftentimes, people are now here because they partially believe in what we do, they partially believe in who we are, and they partially need a paycheck. Our loyalty is slipping in the ranks, and our care for people has been slipping too, because people need us now. That is caused by magnetism and produces that counterfeit relationship feeling, appearing like the real thing, but without the authenticity. So oftentimes when we get to this level, it's because people have been drawn to us that we feel like we have a relationship with them. We're not sitting down, we're not checking in like we did, we're definitely not level 1ing them. We're not level 2ing them. We're the boss. We start to draw lines about where we're supposed to be. And we have team members that we assume are doing the work for us. And it's like I tell my wife, it's like we're turning right into traffic without looking left. I'm sure it'll be fine. This is a dangerous place, right? Level 5. Level 5, we're about to go here. You will not go up in money necessarily because now your company has cracks. People are exiting your company. As you had said, you felt that. When people start exiting your company, it hurts your bottom line, period. If they leave without you knowing or without you driving it and they walk out the door, your focus goes from making money to saving the ship every single time. It's like, oh shoot, get a hold of the business. Who's going to do that role? It's going to take me months to find the right person, get them trained, and get this momentum back up. This is a dangerous place. So this here, what we do is we are going to trade our money. At the same time, we're going to trade our money on this teeter-totter to try to get our time back because it's breaking. That's the next phase. I want my time back. I thought the dream I had would give me the time on the beach. I'm busting my butt. I got people exiting the company. Where's my vision? What is happening? Now you forget that this guy right here started down here in his garage. This guy up here lives in a 6-bedroom house in a gated community. And he's complaining, where's the life I wanted? What the heck? I have most of the things I wanted, I just don't have the time. And I thought I was going to get the time and the things. I thought I was going to get both. Now the problem is that your time will come back up. You're going to trade money for time because this becomes your most critical function. But your care is falling again. Because now this person at level 5 is mostly focused on getting balance back in their life. Let's call this level 5. This person is starting to get cooked. This person just, like I said over here, they became more of a boss than a leader. And at this point, this person looks like your old boss at the corporation you used to work for. They're tired. They don't get vacations. They're cooked. When you talk to them, they're short with you. They don't have the energy they had at level 1 and level 2. And you're starting to wonder where that spark was from the person that believed we could plant all the trees in the world and feed the homeless. Right now, this person's just concerned with feeding themselves. At this point, because the world has been telling Sensei that he or she is so great that they've bought into it. They believe it. They believe the world needs them. And they've invested most of their on themselves, including their time. They wanted to take their time back. They wanted to take their money back. I earned this, they said. And now it's falling apart. And now they're spending the money that they worked so hard for to get their time back. If you're ever in a Jimmy John's, there's a proverb written on the wall for this same story. I would encourage you to look it up. It's about a fisherman in Mexico and the corporation. Has anybody read that? Yep. This is the story. This is the same thing.
Can you tell the story?
Can I tell the story?
Is it worth it? Or is it part of it? Is it part of your training?
It's not part of my training, no. No, it's not part of my training at all. No, but in looking at this, it's the same life cycle. This isn't a proverb. It is the cycle of an entrepreneur. And the very thing you thought that you would get back, the very thing you fought for, is now falling apart. This sounds like a terrible story, Dave. How are you teaching us leadership? I'm going to give you some very important keys. If you're paying attention, I'm telling you the same story that's written on Tommy John's wall. I'm telling you in a real business application, and I'm applying it to your failure points, not to some story about a fisherman. This is real stuff. This is how it really falls apart. I'm going to read to you about level 5.
Hey guys, this is where you've heard like 7-figure earners coming to us. This is where they break. When they come to us, they're like, my life sucks. This is exactly where they're falling. So I'm excited to see how this gets
Great.
better.
At this stage, we have traded our money and leveraged. This is funny. At this stage, we have traded our money and leveraged resources that have given us our time back. The altitude up here is much higher, so moving with ease and efficiency is easier at this altitude. That's what's really neat, and I'll explain that in a second. However, we are often burned out from the amount of effort it's taken us to get to this level, and our care for people has been drastically suffering. The reason I talk about the altitude is that once you hit level 5, a very dear friend of mine named Zach Spear talks about winning permanently. When you win, when you're at level 5, your life is never going to be the same. You've won permanently, right? The amount of income, your status in life, everything has changed. Your influence, your knowledge, you've acquired so much understanding. You could go back to work for the company you left, and they would make you the boss at this point. You'd be the leader in the organization. Everything has changed, right? Your life is permanently changed. So the altitude to move is with ease up here, and I say the altitude because planes fly easiest in a less dense environment, which is at a higher altitude. That's why planes cruise to 30,000 feet, because there's less density in the air, and lift is easier, taking less energy to hold the plane up, right? So at that point in time, you have what we would call, or what John Maxwell would call, momentum, and he says momentum is the leader's best friend. Momentum is on your side at this point. You can pivot and win quickly. At this stage, we see a higher attrition, and we ourselves are more caught off guard when the members of our team seemingly randomly leave without notice. Our care for people has fallen, and we become hyper-focused on the life we sought to build. I explained all that. I guess I know my content. At this stage, your investment in the process are now managing a large part of your organization. And what I mean by that is that here, you invested money to get processes. Here, what I talked about earlier is the automation. I talked about automation when you get a phone call and there's a ticket and all of that's running in the background. Some of your business doesn't take humans. Some of your business is just working. At this point in time, you make money automatically, right? Now I'm not talking about print money. Printing money is something different than making money. But money is happening. You're exchanging commerce and you're getting revenue for your actions, and it takes place 30-40% of your business maybe will take place and is due to processes working because you invested in them back here, but you are in an absolute burnout. This place between level 4 and level 5 is where most people plateau and cannot break through. They can't break through that business because gravity has increased, and the gravity is the opposition against your success. It started desperately increasing here. Does anybody remember why gravity started coming in, at least in the narrative I've been telling? Could anybody, this is not a right or wrong question, but at this point, remember, people, I'll just tell you, at this point, people are getting on. They get on the bus, and way over here, people get off. I'm going to put bus because I don't want to just leave that without bus. At this point, people are getting off the bus.
Like John Gordon's right here.
And in between this space, what's happening is the basics are failing. What are the basics? If you have ever experienced this, and I know this gentleman over here was saying that he has experienced, if you've ever experienced this, the breakdown is right here. When we split the line between our care and our business, because what we started caring more about was the thing that we desired out of the business. Not about what we could do for those people that were in the business. Not about the lives that we were impacting. Not about making people's lives any better. Sometimes that's the narrative. Sometimes that's the narrative that we've made people's lives better, but our hyper-focus, the thing we think most about, is the business. It becomes the center of our universe, not about the people we're supposed to be caring for. And I've gone through this cycle many times and have realized as I rode the same wave and then everything fell apart, that when I put it back together, I could put it back together with the same people, and all I had to do was begin to care again. That's it. Literally, all I had to do was turn on my care engine. I had to show up, I had to make phone calls. Because the thing that's so wild about this stage is we're just another corporation at that point. We're just another big business. And like I said, people are partially believing in what you do, partially believing you care, and partially, I need a paycheck. Over here, people get paid well enough to not leave. Right? You just recreated the model of the thing you left or never wanted to be a part of. All you did was become a part of it. Right? You walked right into that very thing. What separates you from everybody else? What makes you any different than Apple? It has to be you. You as an individual. The care that you provide to your team of leaders. And if over here you have a team of 12 leaders that have 12 leaders below them, and they each have their span of control, whatever that case is, however you love them, right, is how they'll love others. My pastor says something beautiful about his wife, and he tells us, how you got her is how you'll keep her. He said, if you got dressed up and you went on date nights when you were young, and then you get married and you don't do that anymore, right? Isn't that going to be a problem? But how you got her is how you keep her. The investment you put in is the investment you're going to get back. Down here at level 1, in order to start the dream, All we had to do is care for people and sell the vision, and the rest took care of itself. Now we literally live in the middle of the vision and we can't get it to work. And the basis is just that we stopped caring for people. We just got off track. The things that were important to us, we stopped caring about people. And at this point, right here, what's so wild is your ability to care is tremendous. You have more options and opportunities to care and to be generous with people than you ever have in your entire life. But you know what? Over here, I have handed single-handed the highest single bonus for one bonus I've handed somebody at one time was $376,000. And you know, they just said thank you.
I'll take it.
One single bonus, a $376,000 bonus, one bonus. And they just said, hey, thanks, appreciate it. You know why? Because they knew they were working towards that. That's what I came for. We had defined that in our relationship, right? So I knew it was coming because that's what I was working for, right? But care, God, care goes so much further. Care keeps you from jumping off. When I know your spouse's name, when I know your kids' names, like when I've got a guy I work with when I call, because he manages this gigantic portion of what we do. When I call him, I'll say, hey man, how are you? How's your weekend? Hey, I'm calling about, and he'll, hey. He's an old guy. He's an old timer. He doesn't even have to be around anymore. And he'll say, hey, don't you do that. How are the kids, Dave? And I go, oh God, thank you, dude. Okay, cool. Yeah, the family is fantastic. Thank you so much. This is what's going on. I'm like, how's hunting? And he wants to tell his story too. He wants to listen and he wants to be heard. He wants both. And it's a great teacher on how to connect with people. So when I call and I get on my meetings and we've got the whole team, I just did this 24 hours ago. We get on a meeting, we're on with a senior leader of our organization, and one of my team members fires right off. Okay, hey, this is what we need, blah, 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 blah. I shot him a note right after. I said, don't ever do that again. Right? We just brought somebody in, took their time. I was about to ask them about their daughter because we've done this before. You got right down to business? These people don't even need to show up for us. And right down to business, like we're putting them to work? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't ever let the thing we're doing be more important. Now, there will be moments, no doubt. We're in a critical state. This is a right now moment, and we have to act immediately. Okay, everybody knows that. But outside of those moments, it's got to be care for people. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Bob. How are you? Tell me what's going on. It will cost you nothing, and you will gain everything to sit there for 10 minutes to find out what their week looked like, how the family's doing. The danger is when there's people on your team, if there are people on your team right now, people even in your downline. Down here, we care a lot because you're sitting across the table from them, needing for them to know that you care. You'll listen to everything. You know everything about their life. But as we get higher, you don't have to do that anymore because of that counterfeit magnetism I talked about. You're the boss. People come to you, and it feels like relationship. Then when they get off, you're like, they're so nice. Why did they leave? They're leaving because they don't feel cared for. Cared for people don't leave your team. They feel guilty. That's the benefit, is that people feel terrible if they want to leave the team. They would go, why would I leave Zach's team? I feel so awful. Zach has been so good. I've never, ever worked for a boss that was as caring as Zach. Never. Why would I go somewhere else? Well, they're offering me more money. Well, people have offered me more money. I didn't leave. You know why I didn't leave? Because of the team. Not because I was loyal, right? Sure, I'm loyal to a point, but I've been offered a lot more money to go somewhere else, and I'm like, I love this team. This team cares. What if I got to the other place and it was all business, and it was just about what we could do for them? That would be a terrible life. Let me see how my clock is doing. Oh, cool. I'm running out. Okay, cool. So now, how do we fix this problem? I just stated a really big problem, and people are probably wanting to know, and I buried the lead a little bit on how we fix this problem if you get into it. But the problem lies right here in the failure. What failed? If you were flying a plane, and the flaps stopped working and the plane crashed, you would know where the problem is. I'm telling you, this is where the flaps failed. This is what failed on the plane. On your vehicle that was taking you somewhere, the basics failed. And you know what's so wild is that as we get really good and we get really proud of ourselves and we get so high on what we do, that we can miss sometimes the smallest things. You know, that like in airplanes, the smallest things can cause huge problems. We missed that bolt held that cable together. That cable held the flaps. Why didn't we check the bolt? We always check bolts in the beginning. We just thought we were better than that now. So, the basics. I want to get back to this. At every single stage, if you can keep the care matching the stage, you will not have the breakdown. You will not have the failure. So I'm going to give you a few basics. As I stated in the beginning, good leaders care for their people and care about their people. What do you know about your team? And are you close enough to know what's going on in their lives? That's a question you have to constantly ask yourself. Do I know what's going on in their lives? Am I asking enough questions? Now, you don't have to be gifted with the ability to communicate. You may feel like, I have such a hard time connecting with people. Do you know what connecting looks like for you? Questions. That's it. Just ask questions. Everybody's here because they care. I can see it. I can feel it in the room. I'm certain people that are online too, that Jay cares about people. He got here because the entry point is caring about people, so you're able to do it. But maybe you're not a great communicator. So how do you do that? Ask questions, endless questions. How are the wife? How are the kids? How's the house? How you doing? How's your health? Right? And then that question, if you write it down, will lead you to the next question when you call them. And they say, oh, well, we got a baseball game this weekend. My daughter's playing softball or whatever, and she's going to a league. The next time you pick up the phone, how'd it go? How'd what go? The softball tournament. That's the first thing we talk about is you, not the what. Talk about the who, not the what.
That's good.
Good leaders serve. Leadership is a serving role. By the very basis of what it is, leadership is a serving role. Jesus said, I didn't come to serve, but to be served, or didn't come to be served, but to serve. Changes the entire planet, and he came to serve. If you are at a place when let me just be honest with you, this level tells you you're supposed to be served now. You're the boss. I told you, when you transition from leader to boss, bosses are being served. Leaders are serving others. And there's a fine line between boss activity and leadership activity, right? Where you become a manager and not a leader. We have to consistently be serving our team and making sure that they're getting better. Good leaders seek to help and add value to those they lead. They call out the best in others. Our job is to make you better than when you came to me. My job is to make you better than when you came to me. And I always tell people, if I've done my job, when you leave me, you'll be worth more than you ever were. Why is that? Because I want to see how I can make your life better. How can I invest in you and make it so that you are worth more? You're literally worth more to yourself, not to me, right? Because I tell people, hey, listen, we can find you another spot somewhere else. If this isn't a good fit, I care enough about people. I actually can't say this because this is going to go on there. I care enough about people to make it work for people, whatever that takes, right? Do you care enough about the people to see their measure of success? That feels dangerous. But however, if you give them everything you have and you serve them well and you add value to their life, they will indeed feel the need to do the same for you. It's the way it works. Everybody has that favorite teacher, the person that cared deeply for them when they were growing up, and you remember them fondly. You have the opportunity to be that teacher, that sensei in somebody's life that feels like, hey, I'm going somewhere anyways. I'll hit level 4, level 5. Whether you're here with me or not, that's okay. But when I get to level 4, if you're at your own level 3 on your own train, I want you to say, man, Dave made a huge difference. I couldn't have done this without him. He had no need to take his time and care. This is the basics. Good leaders seek to be set apart. Just for you to hear this, leadership is unpopular because it's by its nature different than everyone else. You must be the example and constantly demonstrate what it looks like, giving people something to follow. This is achieved through consistent self-leadership that I spoke of over here in level 1. You have to give people something to follow. You can't get lazy. That's that plateau I talked about. If you look back on your life and you see the stages where you've plateaued, it was the stages usually where you had enough in the learning phase in the last time, and now you've decided to stop growing. You have to give them something to follow. You've got to give them something to follow. And I mean that as in do great things. Following is the care for people. If I care for my people will care for their people, because that's the example. And it's been said, I heard John Maxwell say that you don't hire who you think you are, you hire people just like you. I oftentimes look around my organization, I'm proud of my team for doing amazing things, and I go, I guess I do those things too. I guess it's true that I hire people that are just like me. I put people on the team that are just like me, and then I see those beautiful things down the line. Good leaders own their ish. They take responsibility, but they give credit. So I'm gonna say this statement. They take responsibility, but they give credit. Bad leaders take credit, but give responsibility. I'll give you an example. I recently was in a conference call. I was on a call with one of my team members. One of my team members said something sharp. I asked them for something, and they said, I'm not going to repeat myself on that topic. And I let it fly. I picked up the phone after. I called them. I said, hey, will you explain what that was about? And they said, oh my God, I am so sorry. I think we had a misunderstanding. I would never disrespect you. You know I respect the heck out of you. Like, that is not what I meant. And I said, okay, cool. That's why I wanted to call. And the reason that me calling them offline was important is I said, my equity can handle a punch like that looks like I've been hit. I don't have to prove anything. I'm in the role. The person below me, if I would have hit back, if I would have struck back in that moment, their equity is much more delicate. And I could have done permanent damage by striking back in that moment. And it was just a misunderstanding. Right? So me being careful to understand that when I take responsibility for everything we're doing and I hold the line and I make sure if something goes wrong, it's on me. And my team member knows, oh shoot, that's actually on me. People want to rise up. Jocko Wilkins talks about extreme ownership. If you haven't seen that video, he talks about the time where he stepped up and said everything that happened on the mission was his fault. If you haven't seen the extreme ownership video, just take a second to watch this. 13 minutes. He did a TED talk there. It's very powerful about extreme ownership. And when you take ownership there, but then you give away the wins. So take the responsibility and own that as a leader. And when you have a win, no matter who you're standing next to, give it to somebody else. You don't need it. If you find that you need it, check your heart. Ask yourself, why do I need that validation and affirmation over giving it away? If you give it away, it will find its way to your life nonstop. It will flow constantly to you. And if you take it, it will end the flow. So if I'm complimenting your business, you say, thank you so much, but honestly, it was my team, right? There's no way we could do this without my team. I want to just say thank you, Bob and Melissa, for everything you did to make this happen. And Bob and Melissa may not have actually been the key. You may have been the driver. But when Bob and Melissa hear that, they know I can trust you. And when something goes wrong and you step in front of the fire and you say, hey, that's my fault. That's not their fault. I'll own that. Everything that happens here is my fault. They go, wow, not only does he protect us, he also praises us. Okay? Leadership is not static, it's dynamic. Leadership has an inverse proportion and counteraction. You're either leading or slipping. You're either building trust or allowing mistrust. It is never static. You're doing one or the other. You're either losing your team or gaining your team. And anytime you decide to let it lie, you're losing. And if you just take a second, you'll know that's true. Ignore your team, ignore the care, and it will go negative. Pour in, and it's moving up. Okay? Lastly, leadership is both about character and aptitude. Leadership is about your character and your aptitude. Your aptitude is your resume and will open the first door. The second door will be opened or shut by your character. What is your character? It's your representative or your agent that works on your behalf when you're not in the room. It negotiates on behalf of who you are and who you've shown yourself to be. You'll need this when the ranks get full because many conversations will happen about you, around you. It's always helpful when people are defending and promoting you when you're not there. That's when character has momentum. This is one of the highest returns on your people investment. I was in Manhattan last week, and somebody comes over to me and says, hey, I didn't know that so-and-so was on your team out in California, somebody from Chicago. And I say, hey, before you say anything, I could tell. You can tell when somebody's about to gossip. They're like, hey, I didn't know. And I said, hey, before you say anything, choose your next words wisely because this is my absolute best person. I said, I understand this person had some trouble in the past, but this is my highest performer and the person who is absolutely the best on my team. Just watch your words next, right? Knowing that person, what they had delivered, I was defending them in a room they never stood in a place they needed to be defended. You, in your organization, when you care for people, when you do what I was saying earlier, when you give credit and take responsibility, you take the hits and you give out the love, right? When somebody says, man, I think that Zach is crazy, he's driving me nuts, and somebody stood there and they took responsibility and gave credit, they're going to go, I don't think so, man. Zach's a good dude. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. They may be willing to hear it out, but at the end of the day, they're going to tip the scales back to, maybe you should talk to him. That just doesn't seem like that's who Zach is. If you want to know how you keep this high attrition rate from going, the care cycle stays in motion. And people in your organization are defending and fighting for you in rooms you were never on. Phone calls where they're venting. Well, Zach said so-and-so on the phone. I thought that's what he meant. Maybe you should call. Listen, Zach has demonstrated consistently to care, to be gentle, to love and be considerate. You might have it wrong. You're going to need the agent of trust in your business constantly working for you. And the only way you're going to get that is if you are constantly at work with your people. And with that, that's it. That's it for my, I feel like the clock is just when I threw. I was like, and I'm out.
Yeah, the czar came.
Yeah, I know, it's like, the time's are. Yeah, oh, that's it.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, so all of that to say, you guys, the full life cycle is going to be back to the basics constantly. The basics still work at level 4 and level 5. We just stop applying them. And I know that sounds so simple because I constantly see in organizations they hire the smartest people to come in and drive efficiency, but they never care about people. And you know what people in very large organizations always complain about? That they're not cared for. Nobody complains about us not doing enough. In fact, most people in organizations are giving more than they're paid for. And you know why they're frustrated? Because I give more than I'm paid for. I work late nights and they still don't care. It's not enough. When you're in an organization or on a team where care flows, the give is free. It's a great exchange. Because you would give it and have given it in frustrating environments where they squeezed you. What about if you were constantly being praised, constantly be recognized, constantly be held accountable too? So you're going to need people to call you on your stuff and say, hey, remember we said we needed this by such and such? I got to call a spade a spade. You got to deliver there. If you need help, give that to me. Like, give me the heads up and I'll get you the help. We got to hold people accountable to be better. Some of that is that people have to hold me accountable. I had an accountable phone call yesterday. I sent an email that was was not well thought out. I sent it when I was upset and I had to apologize. And when my boss called me, he goes, whoa, this is way out of character. I'm like, this is my bad. I said, I just want to make sure you know I'm not perfect. That's why I sent that email. Yeah, that's exactly right. But the whole foundation of this life cycle, guys, that if you get anything, is that Mike, when you're on your way to level 3, which is where you're traveling now, how do you keep the care from breaking away? Right? This is what's most important, you guys. I want to keep the care from breaking away. I've got to keep the care here. And even if the care were to break down here, it'll be at a higher arch, right? Don't let your care break down. That's the simplest piece about leadership for me that I can tell you guys as entrepreneurs, that this is the breakdown. And I would love to sit down and talk with many entrepreneurs to talk this out, but I'm fairly certain in this inspired thought, and I've lived this, that you could probably look back at your organization when things broke down and realize it was probably very similar to what I was talking about, and care started slipping. Concern and interest in processes and flow was up, and I was more of a boss and a manager than I was a leader. And if I had only cared more, I even ask myself sometimes, man, if I cared more, did that person have to leave the organization? Was I responsible for not getting them to greatness? What could I have done differently is the question I ask myself always. What could I have done differently that would have provided a different outcome? That's it for me. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, bro.
Welcome in.
So good. I told you.
I hope it was helpful.
I told you. Oh, actually, you don't know what it is. It's hot over here.
Oh my God.
Dear Lord. I was trying to be cognizant. I was being turned it on. I thought if I'm a little chilly, the ladies in the house might be, free. So, where you going?
Oh.
Wait. Okay. So, that was like super good stuff, super deep. Who's legit, like either in this business, in your downline, or in another business, who's gone through up to like level 4 or 5? You have? I know some people are watching the recording. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Tara, for sure. So you can kind of see this split. I mean, I could hear Daniel's like mind. Daniel's like, yep. And like, he's probably seen this a lot in different things. So, yeah, this is so good. Like, honestly, so good. I would take this recording that you have, and you should watch this, like, because some of the levels to kind of translate this, and I want to make sure you guys have any moments to like ask questions to David, because legit, who's been an MLM for more than a few years? Anybody? More than you? In network marketing, in MLM, who's been to conferences, like MLM conferences? You guys have? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever heard any leadership training like this? No. Even remotely close? Even in the hemisphere? Like not even remotely freaking close, right? Like this, right, this just compressed years of leadership training in like MLM conferences down into like an hour. Yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of like give you guys a few like benchmarks here to think through. So you know what level one is, right? We kind of get that. Level 2, this is probably, depending on the company you're in, this is probably, probably 200 to maybe 1,000 people. This is like 1,000 people plus. And this guy kind of it can, depending on the company, it can be in this ballpark, but this can be in like the, one.
You mean team size?
Yeah, team size. Yeah. 1,000 to like probably 10,000. And this is the 10,000 to 100,000 people plus. System of growth numbers, this is probably, I think David, you said this was somewhere around like $100,000 a year in like revenue?
Yeah.
1 to 200.
Sure. Yeah, I think I was saying that it's more about your income versus your expenditures, dude.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys kind of understand that. We just can kind of translate this into team size, but you guys all have system of growth stuff. So all the stuff that he was talking about probably translates really well with like system of growth business stuff, right? So, as those revenues correlate with expenses. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of map this out so you can kind of translate this in a network marketing standpoint. Anyway, do you guys have any questions for David? Anything from a team dynamic standpoint? Is anybody dealing with any problems in teams right now that?
No, I've got one as you're going through it. As you got to stage 4, I thought to myself, does anyone consciously go, I'm at stage 3, this is where I want to be. I don't want to grow big, huge. I don't want to I don't want to deal with 4 and 5. Some people just get in a comfort zone, strong team, and say, God, let's fly the plane where there's a little thicker air. I don't know.
Sure, I think of course, yeah. It's because there's so many humans on this planet. Everybody has a different why, a different outcome they're looking for, right? Some people want 5 employees in an operational business. Some people want to park at that 1,000-person downline, and that's enough. I have a friend whose dad stopped at Emerald in Amway. That's where he was comfortable, and he went back to his family at that point. He had achieved what he wanted to achieve that would produce the outcome for him. So of course people stop. Not everybody wants to be a billionaire, right? Not only does not everybody have the skill set, but some people could have kept the momentum, and that's just not what they wanted out of life. So of course, yeah, I would say, at least that's the way I would see it, but many people will stop at different stages that they feel like this has produced the life, because there's always an exchange. So every level costs you something. And when you move from level to level, at some stages, what it's gonna take to go to the next stage is energy. Again, just like an airplane trying to climb altitude, we're gonna put a lot of energy to climb this altitude to get to the next place, and on the individual pilot, the captain of the ship, to move from here to here can be very costly, and depending on the variables of your life, right? Like for me as a dad, I always protect that time with my wife and my kids, and when I weigh it against that cost, for me, it's a not now, not a not ever, but it's a not now. This is where I want my time. Pretty soon they'll be off doing their thing, and then I'm on the throttle, like it's go time. But for now, I have a why I don't climb the next altitude.
I also feel like in the context of network marketing, if you decide that, hey, this is where I want to cap out, you almost have to step out of that pilot seat and let somebody else fly the plane if you're still coming from a place of care for everybody in your downline.
Oh, sure.
Because if I decide, hey, I'm comfortable here, I want to stop growing, that means I have to freeze everybody below me, and that's not caring.
Sure.
So if I sold you a vision, but didn't sell you the cap on the vision, then I need to step out of the way and let somebody else run with that vision for everybody that's coming behind.
Yes, great. Sure. Yeah, I think at this point in time, when you get to these levels, you have leaders in your organization, and you can make those decisions. And I think there are many leaders in teams or organizations that have decided I've had enough, and then they assign what we would call the CEO. So then they're the chairman in a corporation structure. I'm the chairman, but the chairman's not doing the work anymore, right? Like we talked about our company on the side. I don't do the functionality. That business is growing. But we're more like chairman now, which is that we did the hard work to get it in motion, but I don't want to stop it either. So we have to put what we put as operators in place, and those operators get to work. Now, because we've built something beautiful, we take a reduction in profit, we give them a healthy pay, and we say, go make the dream happen. But it's your fresh legs. And sometimes that's like a relay race, like you said. So it's your fresh legs that'll take us to the next level. But when that happens, when people elect to, you'll still benefit. As the chairman, you're still going to benefit. But one of the cool things is that you're not focused on that day-to-day heavy lift. You've actually paid somebody. At that place, you have the opportunity and the decision to make on whether or not it's about me time and I'm going to step off and exit, or whether I hang out with the team and I become the team's greatest cheerleader. Now I'm the person that got here. Everybody knows that, and they care so much. That's how you can multiply your influences, by caring. Yes, sir.
I used to work for a company called Gore-Tex, or WL Gore, and I did customer service. The owner, his name was Wilbur Gore, had a photographic memory. He'd actually come in from Wilmington, Delaware to Flagstaff, Arizona.
Wow.
And he'd see a customer service person, he'd know their family, he knew everything about them. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so it inspired everybody, it kept the whole thing going.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You're right on track.
And how did that make you feel when they would show up?
Oh, it's amazing. It's the best thing.
Yeah.
You want to work harder for them. Their whole motto was, they had 4 major things. Water line was one, and integrity 2. And you focused on building everybody else up.
Yeah.
As associates.
It's beautiful.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great example.
Could you expound on one thing, and then if there's any other questions, we can do those, and then we'll thank David. But one of the dreams that we're all sold in MLM, like we all started this way, even if it's been corrected, and that is essentially sold to the vision of like making a bunch of money, residual income, so we can eat on the beach, sit on the beach and eat bonbons. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people are like, oh, I want to make an impact, but essentially what we see happen a lot is like, it's like almost like go through it. Mm-hmm. It's like they get to the point where they can sit on the beach and eat bonbons, and they do. Some people can, and they do that, and then like their life degrades. And then some people have this break, mm-hmm. and they never get to sit on the beach and eat bonbons. Mm-hmm. But there's this like interesting thing that people are chasing, this almost, I would call it a stupid goal. Mm-hmm. When you kind of talked about it, like I just want to like do enough so I can like essentially retire and say I did it. Can you like expound on that a little bit? Because it's a false belief I think a lot of network marketers believe, and I think we all tell ourselves a story. Even if we say like, oh, that's not what my dream is anymore, it's still like if we don't ever hit that, it's like you keep chasing that until
you sure. No, that's a great point. And I guess I can talk a little bit about it. I'm not certain that there was a question in there, but I can talk a little bit more about at least my discovery in that process, because I think I wanted the same thing. Because I think that's what we're all sold is, hey, you tired of the day-to-day? You tired of the grind? And the boss said, don't you just want to wear a bathing suit or sit in your shorts on the sand with a cocktail on any beach you want, work from anywhere and enjoy life and travel? Well, the answer is always yes. That answer is true. But when you look across the future, and let me say, for some people, that's empirically true. That's exactly what they want. And if that's exactly what they want, that's okay. And if that's what you want, that's okay too. That needs to be defined. That is your target. That's your end result, and that's what you want. I will caution you, though. This is the biggest caution I can hand you. If that's what you want, and that's who you are, you will hitch your wagon to those people too, and they're fly-by-nighters. Those people leave quickly when it doesn't happen fast, because you are attaching yourself to somebody's ability to dream, and often you will get dreamers and not doers. You'll get visionary people, right? You'll get the creatives who believe, oh, this person's going. If I hitch my wagon to that, all of a sudden I'm driving the car, live in the house, and I'm not working anymore. And their goal is to stop working. This is the greatest caution I can give you. If that's your dream, that's okay, but your dream has got to be done through hard work. If you sell the dream that we're all headed to not have to work, you will get people on your team that do not want to work. You understand that, right? Those are the people you're going to get. You know why? I did it. Because I had built a small empire, and I realized that it gave me my life back. So I would tell people, you come over here, you don't even have to work. Like, you'll be able to do this, this, and this. Like, your days will be less than what you're putting in now. I didn't realize in my immaturity at the time that I had to tell them, oh, you have to earn yours. I had to earn mine. So what would happen is when they would come over and they didn't realize they had to move the needle to create that atmosphere for themselves, and that it was already built, so it was an easier place to make it happen, when they didn't see it quickly, they became indifferent, frustrated, right? Then I would start looking for those people. They weren't working. They weren't where they were supposed to be. You can't find them on their computers. When you're reaching out to them, they're missing meetings. Those people inherently don't want to be at work. They think that you are their Bitcoin, right? So I would caution you that if that is your end result, that's okay. You must sell the vision through hard work achieves. The people that get on your ship, when you tell people, hey, you will have the opportunity to sit on the beach. You will have the opportunity to have the car, to have the life, and have the freedom that you're looking for. You're going to bust your butt. You're going to work really, really hard. And then you're going to get that opportunity because we're going to create that together. But it's going to come through hard work, right? Not, this isn't that hard. It works and everybody makes money. Those people, if you have high attrition, you might have to ask yourself, am I selling the actual outcome over the work? So I started selling the work. I started telling people up front, hey, just so you know, this is going to be a lot of hard work, period. What it's going to get you is the thing you want. And it started weeding out the people that weren't going to work. I hope you're hearing me on this one. If you're selling that you won't have to work, you will get people that will not do work. You'll be looking for them. You'll be wondering why they're not filling your downline. You'll be wondering why. That's because you're selling the dream. Don't sell the dream. Sell the effort to get the dream. And then when the people say yes to the hard work, you don't look for those people. They're doing the work because they're on board. They know, I'm willing to put in the work. You're attracting people that are willing to put in the work to get the outcome. Is that helpful, Zach?
I got my money's worth. I'm good. I can go home, bro. Okay, can I just like tag team with you for a little bit?
Of course, bro.
Good.
Yeah.
So, you know, everyone here studies marketing, right? Because you're using marketing funnels and ads and things to get people in your downline. And when you study marketing, I'm not going to put myself in the camp, but the lore is you're essentially selling a massive result with low effort, right? So if we're selling widgets of things or product, it would make sense for me to say, hey, dude, you can, I mean, if this is true, you can lose all the weight with no effort without doing anything. Like, that would be the perfect pitch, right? Hey, or you can get super jacked with massive muscles by literally taking this pill. Huge result, low effort. So what a lot of network marketing, when I see this happen a lot, is when people are like writing their stuff, they're literally taking that psychology and translating it to what we're doing here, which is really dangerous because it's what he's saying. Hey, dude, we're treating our team, which requires consistent partnership to build a downline. We're treating our team as a product as a one-time sale. So if I'm making a one-time sale, and if I'm not being unethical, it actually would make sense to make a huge promise with no effort because I'm trying to sell you one product, the transaction is over. But people take that transactional type of marketing and translating it into sponsoring people in the downline, and it's a huge mistake. So you guys have heard me say it not as eloquently as that, but in your marketing, you're promoting essentially like a smarter way to work, a smarter way to build, not sit on the beach and eat bonbons. So that was beautiful, dude. That was super eloquent.
Great, thanks.
But I feel like a ton of people, you see it all the time. Anybody see like business opportunity ads, make a bunch of money for doing nothing? They're attracting losers. You know, it's just like, well, that's my harsh language, but people that maybe
I would say it's attracting dreamers. It was attracting the old version of me, which was I was by nature and am by nature a creative. I'm a unique individual that I am a creative. I don't desire to produce output, but I forced my life into a condition where we had to grow in operational excellence, and in such I learned how to produce, right? And so when you can match dreaming with producing, we come up with some really neat things. I sat with the former CEO of IBM one time. He was going to give me business advice. I was just a kid. I was so excited with that clothing company I was spending all my money on. And he sat across the table from me and read my mail, and I literally wanted to get up and run out of the room. It was the worst. It was one of the worst things ever. And he said, Dave, I know people like you. You're like a shooting star, and you will destroy everything around you. Nobody can keep up. Your energy's too high, and you burn everybody out. He said, I could bring you into the organization, but you would break our organization. He said, you'd see everything differently than anybody else, and you'd be the one annoying voice in the room that had a different idea. And we can't handle those people in organizations. Now, he was wrong, because I joined an organization and I knew that I had to become something else and learn, but he was exactly right, that we will sit in a room and I see things differently. And because of that, I'm able to give unique aspects of things that I've picked up. What I shared with you guys, that was a failure on my point. I did what I call the missing leadership action. I did an evaluation of where I failed, what I could have done differently that would have provided a different outcome, and then I implement change management. What is the thing I need to do to make sure I don't do this anymore? And I realized I sold everybody the vision. I sold everybody the dream of a better life. And I didn't tell anybody it was going to take a lot of hard work to get there. So all I had to do was switch that up. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but you can get what you want. That's going to attract the right people. That's going to attract the people who are willing to put in the effort, which is what we need on our team. The people who are willing to work hard, put in the effort. Yeah.
Can we give David a big round of applause? You guys done? Okay, all right. Back it up. Rewind.
There's a quote, though, that it's success only comes before work in the dictionary. I mean, it was like,
That's great. That's good.
that's not me, that's not my quote, but I'm just saying, it's a big quote. I can't remember the guy who did it, but it's right there. You're amazing.
Yeah, great. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
All right, now Daniel.
So, not in an MLM sense, but in a corporate sense. So, I lead a Zach sales team, and I care deeply about these guys. So, like, I know I've got that part down, but I often feel like I have to hold some of that back because they don't take the same direction. Almost like the caring causes them to become too lackadaisical.
Sure.
How do I balance that?
Ooh, yeah, that's a great question. So I'm gonna give this back to you, so I make sure I understand exactly what you're saying. This is a loaded question. When I care, I feel like my team takes advantage of that care, and I don't get the output I need, and they don't respect me as the leader in that environment. Is that what you're saying? So how do I correct that?
Yes.
Well, I would say this. I would say likely, and we could talk offline, but I would say likely there's a breakdown in the basics and principles of your fundamental leadership, because I care deeply about my team, and my care is never compromising what they're supposed to be delivering. And some of that can be in your ability to lead. Some of that can be in the people you're attracting. Some of that can be the group, right? You may need to consistently define the lines. So for me, one of the things that I had to learn in my journey was that if I got upset, it had already gone too far. If emotion is here, I had let this go to a place where I didn't address something to a point where now it's manifesting in a new way, which is emotion. So now I'm angry, and if I'm angry, there's a point I can trace that back to. I should have addressed that, right? And so oftentimes I care deeply about my team member, Zach. Zach, listen, I love you. You got a lot in your life. This is going so well, man. We believe in you, and I know that you can do this. So I've got to sell that. You're the guy, right? You're the guy. You can do this. Say it with me. We're going to get this done, right? And then Zach doesn't come in at 8, but I revved him up so much, and I need his output. Am I going to address that Zach was supposed to be on at 8 and he wasn't there? Or am I going to overlook this, right? I just did a video in Central Park about grace versus us, I forget what it was called. I said it was grace over basic passive. Grace over passivity. We cannot give grace without being willing to confront, right? So am I being passive? And I've done this, right? Which is like, I'm like, I really need this person to go. So I'm kind of holding back because I'm trying to use the energy of my empowerment, my encouragement as the primary force to get movement rather than the energy of my strength and leadership. And so when I use empowerment and encouragement as the primary force, it feels counter to me to now become a hard leader that holds people heavily accountable, because the main voice you hear from me is you can do it. Now I'm about to tell you I don't think you can. How do those work together?
Yeah.
But because, and I think some of that may be rewiring my approach. For me, it was to have to rewire my approach, which was call a spade a spade. I tell people something I came up with in my leadership is reasons are before, excuses are after. Very simple. Reasons are before, excuses are after. If you tell me why something didn't happen, it's an excuse.
I just tell them it doesn't fit in the box.
Sure. Yeah, so I would say, and I'd be willing to have longer conversation with you about just specifically your specific circumstance, but that's where I have found the failure. And my point was like, it's like selling the dream too. It's like selling the vision. I have to give so much force to encourage and to move. And you said sales team, which by the way, it's always with my sales team, because the sales teams they're the original version of me. They're the creatives, right? They don't want to show up on time. They want to blaze in, big wins, head out the door, not do the work. Like, you sold it, but you didn't even finish the report. You didn't even process the whole thing, right? Like, you know, I got it done. You're like, did just send the email that says we got it done. Yes, they said they're done. Process the payment. My God, they're calling us now, asking us how to pay us. You're not closing the deal.
CRM right now, looking at things.
But you know, that's that creative group. So how do we drive that creative group? For me, I drove that creative group through processes that I defined and outlined what their deliverables were, and I hold them to that line, and I constantly push them against that line. Salespeople are a little bit more delicate of a group, where we do know that I need to hold you accountable. I also need to know who I'm working with, like what's the character that I'm trying to move and promote, but I need them to know that there is a leader and that they do feel accountability. And this is a far more complex question than just to like, oh, it's X, you know what I mean? Because there's so many dynamics that create that environment. I will honestly give you the time if you'd like. I'll give you a phone call. We can just talk a little bit more. Hopefully I can help out.
Changing gears a bit.
Sure.
Care is important. The last two ventures that I've been involved with, the care coming from leadership was not there, has left me jaded to the point where at the moment I don't have as much capacity to care as I want.
Sure.
Or need to.
Yeah.
How do I get that back?
This is such a great question. So,
Andrew speaks.
So would you mind opening that door so it's not 1,000 degrees in here?
Bro, it's so hot.
It's so hot. It's just that we're a doorway away from cooling. That's like, it's like inside a hairdryer right now. Okay, so I'll give you a story, something that happened in my life that will, I hope give you. I hope it'll give you some hope. I led a team here in San Diego, and one of those team members was a SEAL 6 team member that worked for me. He was not only was he on the SEAL Team 6, he was also a Harvard MBA, and he was probably the most well-spoken, most well-written, highest character person I've ever met. I loved the guy, and I told him, I was like, bro, I'm man-crushing. There's like 27 SEALs make it every 18 months, so you're one of 27. And then you went after that and became a Harvard MBA. I was like, you did everything everybody wanted to do. And he says to me, what's the matter, Dave? I'm working for you, right? That was his response. But I never took him out of that pedestal that I honored how very brilliant he was. Now, I'm a high school dropout. He's a Harvard MBA. He would bring me his documents and he said, Dave, before this goes out, will you proofread it? And I'd make some changes and he would alter it. Now, I could never write it the way he did, but I could say it differently. I could see things differently. And I cared for his, I won't say his name, but I cared for this individual much. And I always looked out for him, and I always gave him the respect and the honor that he needed. And he decided to leave the organization, and he went and started another team. He started his own business. And a few months later, called 6 months later, he called me up and he said, hey, can we meet for lunch? And I said, of course. And I thought, oh, yes, he wants to come back. And we met for lunch, and he said, hey, Dave, when you got to the company, I had completely lost all faith in leadership. And your care reinstated that I myself could even make a difference as a leader. And I just wanted to say thank you. And will you teach me some of those things that you did? Tell me how you do those. Like, how did you make that difference, right? And I'm sitting across from the Harvard MBA Navy SEAL, who I looked at in honor and revered him, and he's here telling me, you reinstated my hope in leadership. And I'm flipped upside down. I don't even understand what's happening. I did that because I chose to care. And care is a choice, right? My mom used to say, there are going to be mornings when you wake up where you don't feel like loving the other person. And that morning you have to choose. I know that the places that have felt like they've hurt and they've left you scarred, or, you know, as it talks about in Isaiah, I love it in Isaiah where the Lord says, I'll take a heart of stone and turn it to a heart of flesh. Many times I've had to say, Lord, you're going to have to take this heart of stone and turn it to flesh because it's become hardened from the process. The good news is that God is gracious and He's faithful, and He will prick your heart and soften it again. And the things that you care for, the things that maybe when you were younger you used to weep over, the things that had your heart that you feel like you're just moving through life again, the Lord is so gracious that He will do it again if you ask Him. But you have to ask Him. You have to invite Him and say, this has become a hardened heart. I don't want it anymore. I need a softened heart because I can't care for people after all this hurt and these wounds. And He'll be gracious to show up and do that for you. I'll pray for you before I leave because I think it's important. But it is just a choice, and it's one step at a time. It's like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's like today, I have to write this down because I'm so busy. I have to write down who I'm going to call today. Because if I don't, I won't call anybody. Because there's such a demand on what I do that I can get from the front to the back. There'll be a demand today. I told you I'll be in Hawaii. I have a wedding after this, and then I haven't even packed, and I'll be in Hawaii. Leave for Hawaii. I leave the house at 5 a.m. There's always a demand in my life. If I'm not being intentional about it, it's just not going to happen. And so, simply, the first thing is that you just start doing it out of principle. I mean, you may not actually want to do it. You may feel a little bit hardened about it, but you're just going to say, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call these team members, and I'm just going to check in. How are you? And you may not have the care yet. You may not actually have the heart, the warmed heart. But asking questions matters. When somebody like where you were jaded, where you said, if you look back, if they would have just called and said, are you doing okay at home? Not, why didn't you show up? You're like, I've told you time and time again, and you're like, if you only knew what I was dealing with before I got here, what I had to do to get here. And the fact that you're throwing stones and everything I had to do to get here, I should have just called off today. I shouldn't even be here. I gave up my anniversary to be at this stupid meeting. And now I'm getting run through by you, and you're like, I want to choke you. If they had said what I did with my employee, and I called offline and said, hey, will you tell me what happened? He said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay. I avoided the danger and the damage. So be that person. This is a very hard thing for us to do. Like I didn't have the dad. My dad was a horrible person, a violent person. And my kids would tell you that I am the best father because I decided to be. But many, countless times on this journey, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't have anybody at this stage. But I had to decide, I guess we're just going to dance with 2 left feet until we get it right. But it is the simple decision, which is you can go home and just decide, I know it hurt and I know it sucks, but I want to be different. I want to be something that nobody was for me. And what happens, the most amazing transaction that you will get in life is where somebody didn't do it for you and you get to do it for somebody else. Believe it or not, I don't know how this works. God is so good. You get both sides. When you do it for somebody else, you'll remember when somebody didn't do it for you, and you will get both the gratitude of doing it for somebody else, and you'll feel the beauty of what it would have felt like had it been done to you, because now you're doing it. There are things you can't get back, but when you stand there and you cover somebody and you love on somebody in the right moment, you will feel both sides of that fence. Just like for me, who didn't have that dad, when I've done that for my kids, I'm like, oh man, I get to be that, and I get to be that. I get to experience the same moment. I'm just on the other side. But I'm the guy making it right. But this is what it felt like. I can see it in my son's eye. That's what it would have been like to be right. You'll get both. And that's just your lot in life right now is, I'll get both. I will love where people didn't love. I'll care where people didn't care. And I'm going to do it differently. And I'm going to choose to do that differently, even though it still hurts a little bit. I wish there was a magic pill, but... Yes, sir.
So along both those lines, you're right on track. With salespeople, everyone expresses care differently. So like how you express care, they may not be able to read it or understand it. That's the love language. And when you seek to understand with your questions and find out what they need to get the care, is where you can make a connection. Does that resonate?
Sure, yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what you do, because when you're questioning, when you're asking, you're looking for ways in to understand how to communicate with this person better.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, I care. It's, okay, what do you need so you understand that I care?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Listen, care is like dancing, right? Nobody's great in the beginning. It takes a lot of practice, right? I am more naturally how would I put this? Fast, hard-hitting, like my sports were like martial arts and wrestling. Like I enjoy violence. And I have been tempered down to become something else. The care you see is not natural. That care is nurtured. I nurtured that care on the inside of me so that would become who I would become. I would much rather, as a young man, I would make fun of you and I would say stupid things that would cut you because that's the way I grew up. And I remember working in an environment one time, this is where the whole trigger starts for me, and I tell a person working with me who's not doing a thing, I say, hey, you're doing a great job, bud. He goes, wow, thanks. And he went to work. I was like, wow, that's not what I meant. I was being sarcastic. And then he actually went to work like, what is that? And it was the beginning where I would tell him he's doing a great job. He'd go to work. I'm like, he sucks until I point out that but I'm using different language. And I became the person that just started complimenting everyone. I realized like the beauty of care and consideration and loving and took off the piece where I'll tell anybody I think your shoes are great. I think your outfit looks great. You look handsome. You're a great looking guy. People are like, oh, this is super weird. It's like, what does it matter to me? Everybody loves to hear that somebody's for them. The whole world is telling us we suck. When you're the person walking around handing out care and consideration, you are significantly different. That by itself will attract people. That why does this person care? This doesn't even make sense to me. The whole world is telling us we're like those crabs clawing on each other trying to get out of that bucket. When we're not, and you let somebody get on your back, lights out.